Hello, I'm Jarg, and welcome to episode 0 of my Terraria for Beginners guide. Now, before we actually get started into the game, I feel like it is best to actually talk about the beforehand, as not everyone is going to have had experience in playing games, so this could be someone's very first game. So as such, this beginning part is going to be a little bit slow, as I want to first talk off about the settings. Most importantly, I want to go down here to controls, go to key bindings, and talk about this. Now, if this is your first time playing a computer game, as I'm going to be mostly talking about the PC version of Terraria, this is going to be very important, such as using the mouse and the keyboard, unless you decide to use a controller. I don't use a controller, I've never tried using a controller, so I'm not going to be talking about that. So decide you can do that. As for the mouse and keyboard, understanding like mouse 1 being left click, mouse 2 being right click, as well as movement being the W, A, S, and D keys, which would mostly be for your left hand, space being for jump, and a lot of other stuff that might seem a bit confusing to start off with. We're not going to worry too much about them right now. The most important thing, at least for starting off, at least when we get to episode 1, is definitely going to be the movement and the jump key, as well as the use and interact button. So you do want to keep that in mind, as well as this one, also very important, the escape key being the inventory, which is a little bit odd, but it's how the game does it, and I'm going to be keeping the bindings as normal. If you wish to change them, you can easily do that by, like, saying, clicking on that, and clicking on another button. But we're not going to deal with that right now. If we go back, all the way back, well, not all the way back, if we go back a bit, we can see things such as general, interface, video, volume, and all that. If we go to video, we can find the resolution. Now, the resolution in this game will determine how much you can actually see. So, a higher resolution will allow you to see more on the screen at once, whereas a smaller resolution will have the game much closer. For the resolution, try to do its best for you. However, the higher the resolution, the more that it may... well, the more that it will tax on your computer. And if it's taxing on your computer, you will probably not get a good frame rate. So you will have to kind of judge based around what you can handle and what you kind of need. Every resolution... well, your resolution is going to be different from mine, so figure out what's best for you. As for this other stuff, it's going to be up to you whether or not you want some of this stuff enabled or not. Gore, the background, quality, lighting, and all that. We're not going to worry about too much about that. General... for right now, autosave is on. That seems like an obvious one. Autopause is going to be on for me, because I want to be able to pause the game and actually talk about things when we get into future episodes. There is a mini-map. You can have that enabled or disabled. And password is for multiplayer, which we're not going to be going over. And the last thing I want to talk about is the cursor. Mostly the color, as we can change the cursor that I got right here, if we so wish. So as you can see, like, this one is the inside color. And the one right below it, the border, is the outside. I would definitely recommend having it being 2 different colors, being whatever you want, like black and white, or like right here I got like white and purple. As you're going to want this thing to stand out, as this thing can easily hide in the background if you're not careful. And when you get into, say, a hectic situation, knowing where your cursor is and where you're pointing at can be very useful. Now, before we go into single player or multiplayer, down in this bottom left corner, very important, you can find the wiki by clicking on this. I highly recommend going to the wiki if you happen to get stuck at times. I won't be able to go over everything. There's so much in this game that I can't talk about, or I kind of want other people to experience for themselves. But definitely the wiki can help if you get stuck or if you're curious about something. Now, moving up to the top, we have multiplayer, which is playing with other people, and single player, which is going to be my main focus on all this. Here you have the characters that you made, but I'm going to go down to new. Now, what our character's name is and what they look like, for the most part, isn't really going to matter too much. The most important things are going to be this part right here. This is the difficulty. You got Classic, which has your character dropping their money on death. Medium Core, which has a character drop all their items on death. And Hardcore, which means if you die, that's it. The character's gone forever. Also, there is this fourth option known as Journey. This one I would see, it's kind of like a creative mode. You can change aspects or spawn items in or do a couple of different things. I normally don't really bother with that one, and to be completely honest, when I play this game, I play this 99.99% of the time on Classic. As it's what I'm comfortable with. Not that there's anything wrong with Medium or Hardcore, it's just not how I prefer to play this game. You're free to do whatever you want, but if this is your first time playing the game, I highly recommend Classic. Now, all these options up here can determine different things, such as our character, what they look like, male or female, what does their hair look like, what's their hair color, eye color, or skin color, vest, shirt, pants, and boots. I really would not worry too much about all of this. I mean, if you want to, go ahead, but more likely than not, after a while you won't be seeing what your character looks like. There is a way, but you probably will not really see your character what they look like, and probably see them more like this abomination that I got right here. Speaking of which, I won't make my new character right now, but if I pick this character, we can go down here. This is the worlds, as you can have multiple worlds, and any character that you create can go to any world that you can create. I think the only thing is that you cannot have a person that is not on the Journey difficulty go to Journey. Now we have our world name, the seed, which determines what the world will look like, as it says right here, the DNA that defines what the world's shape and traits are. The size of the world, which is kind of a big deal. So a small world, in terms of the map size, in terms of tiles, small is from left to right, 4,200 tiles left to right, and 1,200 top to bottom. A medium world is 6,400 left to right, and 1,800 top to bottom. So, an extra 50%, I believe. About 50%. More than what a small world is. And lastly is the large world, being double that of a small world, being 8,400 left to right, and 2,400 top to bottom. Now, how big or small your world is will in part determine how much is technically in the world. Obviously, a larger world will have more stuff in it, and is really recommended for multiplayer games. Whereas something such as small to medium could be more of your speed. Now, as it says right here, like a small world is a quick single-player experience. You have nothing, there's nothing stopping you from going solo into a large world. As a matter of fact, going solo in a large world is mostly what I'm used to. But for the sake of this whole beginner's guide, I will be going into a small world. But as I said, a smaller world will have less items to find, and that could mean trying to find items for ourselves as we go on could be a bit more difficult than, say, in a large world. That being said, you are not limited to having just one world. As I said before, any character can go to any world that you can create. So you can literally create 5 small worlds and have that one character you create go to all 5 small worlds if you wish, if you're looking for items and whatnot. Now, as we go down below, we have the difficulties, as I guess you would say it is. Journey, which is creative mode. As it says, unearth your creativity. Classic, which is the standard Terraria experience, which we're going to be going over. Expert, which is a far greater difficulty. It literally is a far greater difficulty, I will not lie. But you also get better loot and better odds of getting good things. And lastly is Master Mode, which is even more difficult than Expert. Now, as you make your world, there's going to be something wrong with it. That being Corruption or Crimson. Both of these things are, I guess you would say, a plague on the planet. You can try to deal with it, and if you're going for the achievements, you kind of will have to. And you have to take one of them. You cannot have both in a world through normal means. So, yeah. Corruption was the original one, Crimson came out later. I'm going to be taking Corruption for my world, but I will be doing 2 worlds to show off the Crimson as well. Now, they both act like the same thing. The difference is going to be items you can get from them, the monsters that are there, and a couple of drops. If you want to get everything, you will have to play on a Corruption world and a Crimson world, because there are things that you just cannot get from only having one. And with that, I believe that's everything I want to talk about for this as episode 0. Let me just go back real quick. No, I think that's everything I want to talk about for right now in episode 0. So, again, I would say just go to the settings, controls, look at the key bindings if this is your first time playing it, just to get a basic understanding, as we'll talk more about that later on. And then go make your character and make your starting world. Do what you want and more or less have fun. And I will see you in the first episode of my basic beginner's guide. I apologize if I did not talk about something or if I said anything that may be confusing. If you have any questions about anything that has been covered here, or maybe something that I did not cover, please ask, and I will do my best to respond. If you have questions about something that has not come up yet, I will possibly try to answer that question in a future episode. Right now, until next time, I hope you have yourself a fantastic day, and I hope to see you when we get started in our world in episode 1.